This is our story of Blessed2Give. What is faith? The Bible tells us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And what's a blessing? It's defined as a beneficial thing for which one is grateful, something that brings well-being, more specifically, God's favor and protection. We are in this place enjoying the blessings of God. Many of us remember that this particular blessing is even sweeter after all that it took to get here. We embarked on a journey of faith over a decade ago to get where we are today. God walked with us, providing year after year. Let's see how far we've come. In 2013, when we needed to expand our church facility, we began a campaign of giving by faith. Our goal was to create a place for others to come and experience the message of the gospel. God inspired us, and our faith grew every day as we explored His Word line upon line and precept upon precept in prayer. We learned how God can provide when we give sacrificially. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Prophecies went forth about the great things that God had prepared. From our children to our seniors, we pledged together, and we gave. We watched the miracles unfold as our families stepped out in faith. We shared our testimonies continuously throughout the journey as we approached our goal. God poured out His blessings to encourage us as we kept on giving. We prayed while we waited for the green light to start digging. We prayed for God to anoint our building and the new rooms that it would contain, for the new meeting rooms where others would be blessed to meet, for the nurseries where mothers could care for their babies and toddlers could play next door, for the youth room where our youth and young adults would have space to worship and fellowship, for the prayer room where prayers could be offered up at any time of day or night, for our expanded sanctuary and platform with enough room for all to worship and praise. By God's grace, we weathered setbacks and revisions while staying in tune with God's plan. When funding was short, God provided over and over, and additional funds were raised. He taught us patience as our executive team worked steadfastly, negotiating with the city and the contractors. Finally, in 2019, the work began, shortly before the world was rocked by the pandemic. Our online outreach began as churches were forced to close their doors due to restrictions. But God proved His miracle-working power, as crews and volunteers were able to continue work on the building for most of the pandemic period. We watched week after week as God's plan was fulfilled and the building began to take shape. With the increased costs of material and labor, our teams adjusted our building plans to ensure the completion of the project. Higher borrowing costs made it challenging to finance further contract work, but our staff and volunteers invested countless hours completing the interior and putting on the finishing touches. In late 2021, we opened the new sanctuary for services, and we celebrated the grand opening of the new facilities in the summer of 2022. We had persevered by faith, and God answered prayer. We received the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. We have a good report. We have grown as our God broke barriers and met our needs in ways we never expected, both inside and outside the walls of our building. Our church has become a hub in our community, not just for Calvary, but for other communities and churches spreading the gospel of salvation in Jesus Christ. We have been able to provide our community with beautiful facilities for local events as well. We are so glad you're living the blessing with us. This is your prayer room. This is your nursery. This is your sound room. This is your drum room. This is your altar. This is your sanctuary. These are your facilities. But the story does not end there. We all have the ability to continue the blessing and the journey of faith at Calvary. Our church needs strong support to maintain its operations and expand for the future, to continue to be a place for others. We need your help to keep the blessing going through your giving, your prayers, your faith, and participation. God has planted the seed, and we ask you to join us as we grow on to an even greater harvest. This is your community. This is your faith opportunity. God has shown that this is just the beginning.